Welcome to the laboratory. We're going to do a conversion today. We're going to turn this Spyderco S110 Manix 2 into Cinderella with the glass slippers. Something, because, I don't know, just because we have an extra set of scales, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show you how I do it, which is probably completely ridiculous, but if you have better ways, that's fine. Then use your better ways. Lexan, and it was interesting because one of our viewers, Steve Kluver, says, you know, I'm going to get some of that Lexan, but I think you can get it tinted as well. So like a bronze tint, blue tint, smoke tint, you know. So you could do that as well as just a pure clear. It was basically, you know, Indiana knives, and they did it, and they were selling these, okay? But they give you the original scales as well, and they convert it, and then they send you all the parts, everything as well. So that was interesting. But in their thing, they were like, at Karbadize. So I went to at Karbadize on Instagram and contacted Spencer, I guess, at Karbadize, and saw he had these scales. So I said, how much for the scales? And he says like $65 a set. So I thought, I'm going to get me a couple of sets of scales, and I've already converted two. So I got 3 sets of scales. I already converted 2 of these. One I sent to Sweden, to Linus, my buddy there, because he was hot and crazy. Yeah, it's centered up, because he was wanting to get it hot and crazy for him. He was hot and crazy for him, and I was too, so it was insane. I don't know if I'm too far away here. Maybe I'll jack it down and get a little closer. Just want to kind of give you an overall view. Here's the scales that came off the Manix, okay, the liners and scales. And of course, the most critical thing about doing this whole conversion is this spacer back here, because this is a real press fit with these scales. And so they can be kind of a bear cat to get off. And I'm going to try a different way of doing it. The way I've done it in the past, the other 2 conversions, was just kind of work the scale around and slowly just kind of pull it out of there. And you can try and muscle that yourself. It worked twice in a row for me, but I think this time I'm going to use a little leverage and see if I can pop it off. In any case, so Karbadize, they send you the scales. Okay, they're wrapped up in a microfiber cloth, so at least you get a free microfiber cloth out of the deal. Plus, let me show you the other things you get. And I'm not pimping for, I mean, they didn't give me anything or whatever. I just think it's cool. So I just, you know, what the hell. So they send you a 15 and a 10 Weehaw bit, which are nice, you know, hardened steel, you know, German hardened steel bits, a 10 to 15. And I'm going, a 10 to 15? That can't be, it doesn't fit those, but it fits these. So they give you these other cap screws that you can use as your alternate hardware, okay? So I didn't use it on my 2 conversions, because if you look at these screws, these are, you know, a nice flat machine screw. Now, if you look closely, you see that this is countersunk fairly deep in here. So these are actually below grade of the scale, where maybe the cap screws would be at grade, but I still like the look of the machine screws. There's only really 3 of them in here. You got the pivot and these 2. Back here, it's just press, okay? So there's nothing there. And then obviously he put in some metal threaded tubes in here so you can thread your pocket clip in here. So in any case, that's really cool. And I've always wondered, you know, that pocket clip, well, I guess it's not going to move around, but you think it'd scratch under the scales or something. And these are very novelty. this is very novelty. So, of course, when they start getting scratched up and this and that, obviously they're tough. I mean, they're tough. Okay, this Lexan is. But, I mean, because it's so thick and everything. But, yeah, it's going to scratch up over time. And there was a guy that put in a comment on my Trader's Corner when I showed this at first, and he goes, but you can sand the scratches out, and then you can use a number, whatever, I can't remember, whatever, a number something, plastic polish, buffing wheel, so a buffing compound, and you can buff the sanding marks out. So you like use a 3000 grit, I can't remember what he was saying, to sand the scratches out. And then, of course, it's, you know, you're going to have these sanded marks all over there, so you got to buff that out to make it clear again, but polishing compound. So you can do that. I know Kluver was saying he has the buffing wheel. I mean, just kind of a wheel where you can put a buffing disc on it, whatever, and you can get the compound that you can put and buff these out. So, I mean, it's not like if they get scratched that they're gone forever. But obviously, yeah, this is very novelty. So you'll either like this or you don't. I don't care. But you can, you know what you can do? You can have a good time just sitting here laughing at me doing this because I'm a primitive Pete. So, I mean, that'll give you some entertainment value to start with. And here's our scales. Let's get to it because I don't want to mess around here forever. And so, incidentally, this is a number 9 here. So this here is a number 9. I'm doing this to the camera. I'm gonna look around the side, actually. Break this loose if I can. Okay. I'm gonna go to the other side and break this loose too, because sometimes you can spin both of them. No, I'm not. Okay, good. So I am loosening that. And I am loosening that. So that's a good idea to break both of these loose at first, because if you only break the one loose and undo it, this one might be Loctited in there and it'll spin, but you don't have a screw to hold on to on this side to stabilize or whatever. So try and break both of them loose. Now, my point here is to also say, do one scale at a time. Okay, that way you keep everything else aligned on this knife, or at least that was the advice from Karbadize. So here we go. I'm going to do the front scale first, okay? So a number 8 for these other screws, and it's not turning the back side, so it's coming out, okay? And maybe I should, hold on. Let me pull this down a bit, and let me crank this down a little bit so you can get a little closer to the work area where I'm at. Any case, you can see why I don't do a lot of disassembly and reassembly videos on here. But, I mean, you know, it's kind of fun for people to see. You know, not everybody has a super smooth experience and to work your way through it. So, I mean, maybe a little bit of imperfection and faltering while you're doing this, come on baby, come on out of there, is okay. And I know I've got it unscrewed, so why is it not coming out of this? There it is. Okay, so come out this, and actually this is the first time I've used a number 9 on this pivot. I'll pull it out now that I've got it already that far unscrewed. But I used a number 8 on this because an 8 will actually turn that, and it'll do, so whatever. Okay, now we've got that done. We can pull this off. Well, here's the situation here. You got this, okay? You got this. So what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to try. I haven't tried this before, but I'm going to just take, well, let me take this. I'm just going to take an old rag or whatever. I'm going to take these pliers, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in like this and then give it some leverage, but I don't want to scratch up the inner liners in case I put this thing back to the way it was. And I'm going to just try and pop it off that way if I can. And I thought I'd give it a shot. And that's not working well. Okay. So what we can do is just work it like this. I thought maybe that would work well. Oh, well, I guess not. See, you're just going to have to muscle this off of here. And it's coming. It's coming off, actually. But you just got to be careful. And you can turn this. You see what I'm doing? And it is actually, see, but it's on there. Okay, so now I got this side off. I'm not looking for, and you see, when you pull this liner, on the inside of this liner is this little bronze washer, which you want to keep on here, okay? So now you get one side done, okay? Yes. And I guess my little dream of the leverage trick of prying it off somehow wasn't really all that effective and didn't make that much difference in any case. Okay, so you're going to know which side to use because the part that's facing up is the one that's countersunk. Okay, so in this case, it's the presentation side here. It'll only go, you can only do one way here. And so here we go. We're going to line this baby up. And see, this doesn't press on here that hard. So really, you're kind of losing a little bit of integrity here because these screws now are truly the only thing holding that scale on together and everything. So let me look around the camera to make sure I'm getting this thing lined up. Let's hope we've got it. There we go. Okay. So I just snapped that down. These tolerances, he's got to keep these tolerances tighter. It could be out of line. So far, so good, right? Nice and clear. Got that on. Let's try not to throw my pivot screw on the floor. And it's a number 9, so we're going to see, and you don't have that many turns, but what it's done. I mean, that's just done. It doesn't turn a bunch. Okay. And this, you got 2 screws here. One here. Okay. And I'm not going to really muscle them too hard. Not right now, at least. I can tighten them down maybe later a little bit. Okay, wow. That traveled a ways. I thought it was stripped or something, but it wasn't. Okay, so here we go. Backside. Now, this will be fun. Because basically, we do have to take the pocket clip off. And the pocket clip is number 8s. So let's do that. As I look around the camera, and I'm just going to loosen them up to where I can just lift the pocket clip right off with the screws attached to it like that. Okay, so we're good. Just lay it to the side, whatever. Now we just got to take all the rest of this garbage out. Now, since I've loosened this number 9, actually I can use my number 8 to finish it off. Boom, there it goes. And here comes this. Okay. These are truly number 8s. These 2 are. Okay, now I'm feeling this coming loose. Rah, the bands. Ooh. Oh, yes. Okay, so this happened a time before, too. Okay, so these screws are out. They should be out. There they are now. Okay, so now here's where you are. You are stuck. You are stuck. Because what do you got for leverage here to pull them off of? So I just muscle it. I mean, I'm pulling down on this scale against, I'm pulling up on this and down on this. I'm trying to separate these two because I know that the liner will come off easier than the scale will. Okay, so I muscled it. Did I break it? No, and I'm lucky I haven't, but who knows. Now, the liner pulls out. Not as big a problem as the scale is. Okay, now your spacer goes in here. Okay. How about your scales? Well, you know that this one goes on this side because here's your countersunk holes, and obviously you only got one side left. This kind of makes sense. Okay, so here we go. Just line it up like this, and that just kind of slides over there. So you've lost your press fit now. Okay. We getting there? I think we're there, folks. It didn't feel like it, but it looks like it. Okay. Well, just put in the pivot screw. And my good old number 9 is over here, waiting on the sidelines, and we'll get with that a little bit later. Drop these in. So far I I guess you got to kind of watch it. You don't want to skate across your scale with something steel like that, or you will begin the scratching process. So let's try and avoid that for as long as we can. Keep them somewhat pristine. Okay. I don't see any space between the scale and the rest of it. Hold on. Now, obviously you're going to destroy the action on this Manix if you tighten it too tight. So now you got to look at this. Yeah, I'm centered, but my action sucks. Okay, it's really bad. So, and at some point in time, you may want to come back and put some thread locker on these. I mean, because what you're going to be doing, or at least what I'm doing, is I am going to just little by little back these off and then check my play. Okay, that's better action. Okay, yeah. Not bad. And it's still centered. You're right. Without that press fit, that kind of brings the party to a stop. But you know what? You could put a little bit, maybe just a little dab of something like that in there, but then you're done. I mean, then you're pretty much committed to that. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe these things should have been machined a little tighter tolerance to push on that, since you've got nothing else holding it. Wow. Something I didn't really feel that much with this one. This one might be a little tighter tolerance. I mean, I can kind of, but it's not pulling away so easily. So this one is a little bit different. So pocket clip on the back. Okay. Next. And next, Not screwing them all down real tight yet. So yeah, I hadn't really, actually this has probably been the easiest conversion I've done. So I guess practice makes perfect. And I guess if I decide to make one of these permanent, I think I am going to put a little touch of adhesive on there or something. And I'm going to think about what I want to do here before I make any permanent moves in that direction. But there's the result right there. There you go. Completed conversion. Yeah. It was what it was. But that's a, it's just a kind of, you got to muscle that off there. That's just such a press fit. Unfortunately, the plexiglass or the Lexan is not always a press fit as tight on there. So, there's a purpose for that interference there. Appreciate it. Take care. Lexan, clear scales, really trick, not practical. I get it, but it's cool. And stay sharp.